Hey, you ever move into a place that looks like it's ripped straight out of a magazine, only to realize it's hiding a whole mess of ugly underneath? That's what happened to me, my wife Lisa, and our little guy, Ben, when we rolled into Willow Creek, a picture-perfect suburb with manicured lawns and white picket fences that practically screamed American dream. But 3 weeks in, I had the HOA queen pinned to a light pole, her wrists bound with my old duct tape, her precious clipboard smashed in the gutter, and a crowd of neighbors filming the whole thing, too stunned to step in. Let me take you back to how it all started. We just pulled into Willow Creek, our moving van rumbling in the cul-de-sac, the kind of place where every house looks like it's posing for a real estate ad, symmetrical flower beds, emerald grass, not a single blade out of place. Lisa was holding 6-month-old Ben, his tiny hands grabbing at her hair, and she looked out at the street with this soft smile, whispering, "This is it, Mike, this is home." After 20 years as a prosecutor, staring down mob bosses and white-collar crooks, I wanted to believe her. I wanted this to be the fresh start we needed, a quiet place to raise Ben, to leave behind the late-night case files and the stress that clung to us like damp rot. But as I hauled the last box inside, I caught a glimpse of a shadow in the window across the street, a pair of eyes watching us like a hawk sizing up prey. That was Ellen Whitaker, HOA president, already scribbling on her clipboard because our van was parked an inch too far from the curb. The first morning was fine, just unpacking, Lisa singing to Ben in the backyard, his giggles floating through the open window. I remember standing in the kitchen, thinking, this could work, this could be good. Then day 2 hit like a slap. I'm talking sharp heels clicking down the sidewalk, loud enough to wake the dead. Ellen Whitaker, all severe blonde bun and a smile that could freeze vodka, marched up to Lisa, who was sitting on a blanket with Ben, his little rattle jingling. "Mrs. Carter," Ellen snapped, not even glancing at Ben. "Your moving van's in violation of Section 8.4, and your car's parked 11 inches off the curb, unacceptable." Lisa, still holding Ben, blinked like she'd been hit with a spotlight. "We just got here," she said, keeping her voice steady. "The moving company said the van's fine for a week." Ellen's eyes narrowed, her clipboard practically an extension of her arm. "The moving company doesn't make the rules, Mrs. Carter." "I do. You've got 24 hours before the fines start, $75 a day." Then she flicked her gaze to the blanket, her nose wrinkling like she smelled something bad. "And that blanket's a violation of 14.2, no recreational items on front lawns. Remove it." Lisa's jaw tightened, but she held Ben closer, his tiny fussing the only sound as Ellen strutted off, leaving her perfume like a cloud of smog. I was watching from the kitchen, and I'll tell you, in all my years in court, I'd seen that look before. Cold, calculated, not about rules but about power. Ellen wasn't just enforcing bylaws. She was marking her territory, and we were the new dogs she wanted to kick. That night, Lisa looked at me, her eyes tired but fierce. "She's gonna make our lives hell, isn't she?" I didn't answer, just pulled her close, but inside, I was already building a case. It got worse. By the end of the week, we had a stack of citations. Our mailbox was too glossy. Our recycling bin was visible past 6 a.m. Even Ben's stroller on the porch was a crime. Every morning, I'd find Ellen's handwritten notes taped to our door, her looping signature like a taunt. I caught her once, snapping photos of our yard from across the street, her phone angled like she was building a dossier. Having fun, I called out, crossing the street in 3 strides. She didn't even flinch. "Just documenting violations, Mr. Carter. It's my duty." I stepped closer, voice low. "This isn't duty, Ellen. This is obsession. You're targeting us because we dared to question you at the HOA meeting." Her lips twitched, that smug little smirk. "If you can't handle the standards, maybe Willow Creek's not for you." I felt my fists clench, but I walked away. I'd dealt with worse than her crooks who'd sell their own kids for a deal, but something about her cold, petty control lit a fire in me I hadn't felt in years. The HOA meeting, yeah, that was a scene. Picture a sterile community center, fluorescent lights buzzing, folding chairs packed with neighbors who went quiet the second I walked in. Ellen sat at the front, her clipboard like a scepter, her smile saying she'd already won. I stood up, calm but firm, like I was addressing a jury. "Less than a week, and we've got citations for things we couldn't possibly know yet. I'm asking for a grace period, Just a little reason. Ellen didn't even look at her notes. Rules are rules, Mr. Carter. Exceptions breed chaos. I pushed back, keeping my voice steady. Reasonable discretion is how communities function. We've got a baby, we're still settling in. Her eyes flashed, and she leaned forward, voice like a blade. I've kept Willow Creek pristine for 12 years. If you can't comply, maybe you don't belong. The room was so quiet you could hear the clock tick. I sat down, but I didn't break eye contact. She thought she'd put me in my place, but all she did was show me exactly who she was. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Saturday, warm and clear, the kind of day you dream about when you move to a place like this. Lisa took Ben for a walk to the playground, hoping to calm his teething fussiness. I was in the garage, sorting tools, when I heard shouting. I stepped outside, and my blood went cold. There was Ellen, blocking Lisa's path, her clipboard raised like she was about to deliver a sermon. Mrs. Carter, your garbage cans were out past 7 a.m. Another $50 fine. Lisa, gripping the stroller, kept her cool. The truck was late, Ellen. You know that. Ellen's voice was ice. Rules don't bend for excuses. Ben started crying, his little wails cutting through the air, and Ellen's face twisted with irritation. Can you keep that kid quiet? Some of us are trying to enjoy our morning. Lisa's eyes widened, her voice sharp. He's a baby, Ellen. Babies cry. Ellen stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. Then control him, or I will. And then God, I'll never forget it, reached into the stroller, grabbed Ben by his ankle, and yanked him out, holding him upside down like some kind of trophy. His cries turned to panicked gasps, his tiny arms flailing. Lisa lunged, screaming, "Put him down!" But Ellen twisted away, shaking him just enough to make his face go red. Maybe this'll teach him to shut up, she sneered. I was across the street in seconds, my voice booming like I was calling a courtroom to order. Put my son down. Ellen spun toward me, still holding Ben, her eyes daring me to try something. I didn't think I just acted. I grabbed the duct tape from my pocket, left over from sealing boxes, and in one quick motion, I looped it around her wrist, yanking hard. She yelped, dropping Ben, and I caught him midair, cradling him against my chest. Daddy's got you, I whispered, my heart pounding as his cries softened. Ellen tried to pull away, but I was done playing. I wrapped the tape around her wrists, pinning them tight, and backed her up against a light pole. The metal clanged as her spine hit it, and I tied her there, not too tight, but enough that she wasn't going anywhere. You're insane, she shrieked. I'm the HOA president. I leaned in close, my voice low, every word carved from 20 years of facing down liars and bullies. You touched my son. You shook him like a rag doll. You're not a presidential menace. I kicked her clipboard, watched it crack in the gutter, and the crowd that had gathered, neighbors with their phones out, filming, gasped. Nobody moved to help her. Lisa was shaking, tears in her eyes, but she stood tall, staring at Ellen like she could burn a hole through her. That moment lit a match in Willow Creek. By Sunday, the video was everywhere, group chats, social media, you name it. Neighbors started talking, spilling stories they'd kept quiet for years. Old Mrs. Jenkins told me how Ellen fined her for weeds that were actually the roses her late husband planted. The Garcias said Ellen had their car towed for being an inch over their driveway line, making them miss their son's recital. Story after story, each one worse than the last. I went door to door, notebook in hand, writing it all down: dates, fines, harassment. It wasn't just about us anymore. It was about a neighborhood held hostage by one woman's ego. I dug into the HOA records too, found charges for community wellness that looked an awful lot like Ellen's spa days, and holiday decor that matched her boutique receipts. Sloppy, arrogant, and exactly what I needed. The final showdown came at the next HOA meeting. The community center was packed, standing room only, the air thick with tension. Ellen sat at the front, trying to look composed, but her hands were shaky, her smile brittle. I walked in with a binder full of evidence, every step deliberate, like I was approaching a witness stand. Mr. Carter, she started, her voice thin, you're out of order. I cut her off, my tone calm but final. Not tonight, Ellen. Tonight, we're holding you accountable. I laid it all out: the video of her shaking Ben, the stories from neighbors, the shady financials. The room gasped, murmured, then roared as I called for a vote to remove her. All in favor, I said, and the eyes came like a tidal wave, not a single no. Ellen sat there, frozen, her clipboard untouched, her power gone. But I wasn't done. I turned to her, voice steady. You're not just stepping down, Ellen. You're resigning for good. You're repaying every fine you wrongfully issued, out of your own pocket. You're going to anger management for a year, and you're writing apology letters starting with one to my son. And you're doing 200 hours of community service, working with kids, so you never forget what you did. Refuse, and I'll see you in court with enough evidence to bury you. Her face went white, but she nodded, barely whispering, fine. The room erupted in applause, not loud, but steady, like a weight lifting. Willow Creek changed after that. Neighbors started talking again, waving, even throwing block parties without fear of fines. Ellen kept her word, resigned, paid up, started counseling. I saw her once, picking up trash at the park. No clipboard, just quiet. Not everyone forgave her, but she was trying. For us, the real win was Ben, growing up in a place where people looked out for each other. I could have pushed for jail time, let my anger take over, but I chose something else, justice that didn't just punish but rebuild. And that's what I want you to think about. When someone crosses you, do you burn it all down, or do you build something better? Drop the word justice in the comments, and tell me would you have gone harder on Ellen, or given her that chance to change. Hit that like button if this hit home, and subscribe if you want more stories about standing up to bullies and finding strength in community. Because sometimes, the quiet victories, the ones that change a neighborhood, are the loudest.